right, this is a podcast looking back a number of years, 1983, when Robert Redford came to Western New York to film The Natural in Buffalo. And I'm Don Alhart, along with Wanda Miller, Peter Burrell, and my wife, Mary Alhart, who all made that journey. It doesn't seem that long ago, guys, does it?
It seems that long ago. Who are you trying to kid? 1983. I was a youngster back then.
Was it 83? No, when was it?
1983.
Yeah.
I did the math.
Over 40 years ago.
We were 39 because Pete and I are only, 12 days apart. Well, we weren't 39 yet. We would have been, it was what, in April we did that? Wait, 1 month. I'm
That
trying
would
to
have been the following year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I must have been 18.
Yeah.
we are.
That was a joke.
Yeah. People have been.
My wife is still 18.
People have been asking me, after retirement, people say, "How was retirement?" And I say, "It's fine." And then they say, "We miss you," and I say, "Thank you." And then they say, "Are you ever going to do a podcast?" And I say, "I don't know. I can't. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts." So I said, "I'm not sure I'm ever going to do one, and I'm sure we may never do one again." But I thought, the events of this week with the passing of Robert Redford brought back so many
perfect
memories.
time.
Yeah, and I have to confess, I watched the entire show. I don't remember a lot of that, so I'm not sure I ever really watched it.
Did you watch it, Wanda?
Can I tell you? No, I didn't. In fact, I can't remember a whole lot either. So, Pete, we're going to rely on you to fill in the blanks.
Well, I watched it all in its entirety, and I had watched it all in its entirety before. But a lot of it came back to me that I'd forgotten, especially that the two of you left yourselves stranded in Buffalo.
Didn't it rain really hard, Mary, at one point?
And it was so cold.
Yeah.
It was cold.
Yeah, it was very cold.
What
And windy, cold.
What amazed me was the number of buses that had lined up to go there. And Pete, maybe take us back to that moment when, and I guess it could have been Silver Stadium, the old Silver Stadium here in Rochester, but they chose the one in Buffalo. I guess as production manager, that's probably part of your choice to refurbish that and bring it to look like it did in the 1930s.
Yeah, well, there were several factors. One, which was critical, was the huge armory right across the street, which served as because there's so many extras, and so that involves a lot of wardrobe and all the rest. So all of our costume department, props department, transportation, we could even drive all the trucks into the armory.
Wow.
It took 2 minutes to drive from one end of the armory to the other. It was huge. So that was a big factor. And the guy who owned the football team there,
the Bills.
Who was it, Don?
Who owned the Bills at that time? That would have been
Oh.
Very prominent sports figure in Buffalo. Anyway, he was all over trying to help us and so forth.
I can remember. No, I was going to say, I remember that armory. You had the interior sets. You shot some of the interiors on sound stages there, right?
That's right. We had several sets in there, the locker room and the house and all that. But the other thing was Harvey Weinstein, when he was in college, became a big music promoter. And he really dominated the music concert scene in Buffalo. And he actually came to the producers and, offered his help. I remember he wanted to have a meeting with me and Mark Johnson, the producer, and maybe somebody else. And we were sitting in this little office with him, and he said, "So tell me how I can get into the movie business." Well,
wow, you are kidding me.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're in Buffalo, and you realize you're going to have to not fill the stands, but make it appear obviously that the stands are filled with people. How did that lead to your reaching out to me? As I look at it now, that was you reaching out to me to see if we could get some extra people there.
Right. Well, what I tried to tell, having grown up in obviously Rochester, I knew that, as we all do, on August 31st, it can be hot and humid. And September 1, it's fall and it's cold.
Right.
And so I said to them, you better shoot the baseball stadium, scenes where we require all these extras now because it's going to get really cold. Well, that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
the number of
Yes.
extras depleted. So the one thing they started to do was make cardboard cutouts for the. Actually, I think you got to know a couple of those guys very well, Don.
I forgot all about that till I saw the show. I think Mary was a little chagrined at that. It
I'm
looked
sorry they
typical.
were.
That's
Yeah.
typical of what I would do.
Yeah, typical.
Yes, right. Yeah, I'm sorry they were rude to you, but there might have been a communication gap. But in any case, you and I, Don, have a history since 12 years old or younger of producing things. And so I called you and explained we're having a hard time getting extras. And then he said, what about Rochester Night? And the rest of it, we ran with it. And the rest is history. Was it 2,000 people you brought to
Yes.
Amazing. When I look at
Yes.
that busload. And, I think,
Yes.
as great as the footage was at the stadium, when I look back, Wanda, and I don't know how we put that show together and got it on within a day because you were on one bus, I was on the other.
Yes.
You were doing trivia, as I recall, and I was.
What was his first
Yes.
name?
Yeah.
What was Robert Redford's first name?
Roy Hobbs.
Roy Hobbs.
Roy.
No,
right,
but
yes.
his
but
real
no,
name.
his
That was
real life.
His really? I don't know.
Well,
It
you
wasn't
asked it.
Robert.
No.
No, you
No,
asked it.
no,
You asked it in the show.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Why?
That was part of your trivia. You had this one woman who knew everything.
Really?
You just sat her back down in her seat because she was answering everything. And then when you'd ask another
And
question, if nobody knew it, she would put her hand up and you go, no.
She knew it.
Yeah.
Did I really? How mean of me as a host.
Well,
No,
you
they
weren't-
got a kick
no.
out of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they did. You were great.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah. We had a good time.
Now, according to your bus trivia, it was Charles.
Uh-huh.
Charles Robert
Was
Redford.
it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I didn't remember that. My goodness, that was funny.
Wanda,
Wow,
you're gonna
it
have
was.
to
You know
watch
what? I am, but it was just so fantastic to be there in his presence. When I found out that he had died, the first thought I had was, well, he shuffled off to his heavenly reward.
Yeah.
He has shuffled off to the universe. It just came back to me, the whole thing in Buffalo. And I don't know, Pete, if you know at one point, because Don is Don. He's the preeminent host. He knows how to do everything. He's so quick with this and that and smooth as silk, right? And so we're standing between Robert Redford, me and Don's talking to him, blah, blah, blah. And Redford turns to me and says, who are you? I said, no one. I'm nothing. No one. Nobody.
Yeah, I watched the program. I watched the program. I could see that moment.
Yeah. But he was quite charming with you, though. He gave you that
But
beautiful
he was.
smile.
I was starstruck.
Knowing Robert Redford, that was not a condescending remark.
No, not at all.
That was sensing that you were part of the game.
Yes.
And wanting to acknowledge you.
Yeah.
Yes, it was so wonderful. And I was starstruck, Pete. I was starstruck. He's the only celebrity who had me starstruck.
Oh.
And we had quite a few.
He really was.
On Morning Break, you look back at all the Carol Channing and all the folks that
Yes,
came by there.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we had
Right.
I can't begin to recall all of the stars we had met, but this
All
one
of
was different.
Exactly. This was different. This was a real life movie star to me. And I was just in rapture. It was just wonderful.
He's a very charming guy. I posted something about my experiences with him after the Natural, and he's very notorious about being late for meetings.
Uh-huh.
And so I had worked on a couple of Sundance projects after the Natural, and then he had called me, and he lived on Broad Beach, which is right across from where I lived in the ghetto, and wanted to talk to me about working together. And he wanted to do a movie about the Mormons in St. George. Anyway, make a long story short, he had me fly up to Sundance to meet with him about that. And it's the first time I've ever been to a ski area where I didn't bring my skis. And, I was enamored with Downhill Racer because it was such an amazing, superb depiction of what skiing really is about. And so we was waiting for him, and it was during the ski day, and I was thinking, God, maybe he'll call me and I should go over to the rental. He'll tell me to go to the rental shop, get some skis. I'll meet you at the top of the mountain. We'll ski together and then have the meeting on the lift. Well, that never happened. But to your point about his charm, when you do get to him, he couldn't be more attentive, more charming, and more genuine. And that was who he was. He was just remarkable.
And that came through.
And the outpouring. Go ahead.
No, that came through with his rapport. He just had that. I had forgotten how charming he could be. And handsome, very handsome.
Oh my gosh! That was it, Mary. I didn't want to say that, but the man was so good looking, so handsome, and I pretended I was Barbara Streisand, and I flicked his hair up off of his forehead.
He knew he had that gravitas. The hair was a big deal with him.
Yes. It was good hair.
It was so obvious too when the buses were loading up. You could see the excitement in the people that some wanted to be in the movie, some just wanted to go for the ride, and a lot of people just wanted to see him.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
There's something really apropos there, Don, because I think all the energy, and you look at your special, all the energy that you and Wanda created with everybody as they got on the bus, as they gathered, when they went there, and then to be in the stands when it's raining and being as full of life as they were. Chris Salvo, the first assistant director, his job is to fire up the extras, and you covered that very well in your documentary. But the response that you guys gave was above and beyond what normally you get from extras. It was really remarkable. Especially, I mean, if you listen to it, it's remarkable. And I think one of the reasons that Redford was so gracious with his time with you guys is because he really was impressed and appreciated everything that everybody in Rochester brought to the table.
Well, let me ask you, Pete, why couldn't you get local people from Buffalo to be extras? I don't understand that. They're larger than Rochester.
The novelty had worn off. We had done it for weeks, but it was getting cold, and people, I've been there. I don't need to see Redford again. Oh, so it was getting thin.
That.
So,
that's understandable.
Okay.
And there were people.
I can understand that.
There were people. I think we did. We asked the audience how many were from Rochester, and they all screamed, and how many from Buffalo, and it was a few there that did make some sounds. But I think you're right. I think that night was really the night for Rochester people to be there. And when I think back, I keep going back to the buses because those people had such a great time, and they were just, I mean, you kind of miss those moments where people on the spur of the moment said, I'm going to jump on one of 50 buses and go to Buffalo for the night.
Exactly. And you know what, Pete, that really does speak to Rochesterians. When you create a community for them, they are so engaged, and they will come out for you and be a part of that community because you've made them a part of that community, and they respond in kind.
Yeah, my nieces call it Rochester nice.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It really is.
I think that, Don, you and Wanda, you were like the warm-up act. You were like priming these people. When they got off that bus, they were ready to go.
Abbott and Costello.
That kind of sums up our whole career, I think. Well, we were warming up, and we never knew who we were warming up for. But we just got to Marketplace Mall, and we had fun. We just had a good time. That's when broadcasting was fun. It really was fun.
You know what?
I look back, and when you look at that production, we haven't been able, with all of the advances in technology, to duplicate that kind of dedication. I look back, and I don't want to start naming names: Steve Del Monte, John Boyd, Brian Maslin, Karen Coretta, Chuck Hughes. We had
Thaddeus.
Thaddeus.
What a team!
We had so
Thaddeus.
many people. We had so many people working on that and dedicated to it that,
Yes.
and as it turned out, and now I'm a little confused, Pete, when I look at that special, it looks like, unless we incorporated some other footage, that they did roll some film that night, but then by the part where Robert Redford was coming out was where it started to rain.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
I mean,
so I don't know if anybody.
Chris Saldo would not have been priming the extras with all the cues about, where he gives them the instructions and tells them the backstory of why they're there and what they're responding to. But the response that you captured on film is remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, people went crazy. They were really all over it. So obviously he would not do that unless that would be the last thing. The assistant director, right after that moment, the assistant director would say roll camera, and then Redford would say action.
Yeah. That was Mary. That was the second time we have not been. We went to Syracuse when Pete was involved with Slapshot and Paul Newman.
Yep.
And sat in the upper seats where the extras were, and I think we counted. We were like 3 seats where we got cut out.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a story.
Story of our life. We were warming up everybody then. We were just the warm up.
I wish you'd told me. I wish you'd told me. I could have fixed that.
Yeah, but we saw Paul Newman. So.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, then that made it
Up
okay.
close,
That made it okay.
Yeah, that was
of
okay.
course.
We
Sundance.
We got to see him later.
Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
we saw both.
Right.
We got to see him later, and I didn't realize I had forgotten. In addition to the interview where he addressed the crowd, the time he gave us. I'm watching the interview, Wanda, that you and I did with him on our own, and I'm looking at it going, I can't believe somebody didn't wrap us up sooner. He just kept going.
How long was it?
Oh,
it had to be 10
How
minutes.
long was it?
I don't know. He.
Oh my gosh!
I kept looking, saying, I can't believe that somebody from the crew didn't say, "Well, that's it. Your time's up. You got to move on." He was just. He was anxious to share that time with us. Mm-hmm. Perhaps the fact
so
that
gracious.
But it was a direct result of his response. I mean, I have the comparison of how other extras respond. I don't think Rochesterians realize how remarkable they were. And that did not go unnoticed by anybody. In fact, after you guys left, I got all kinds of remarks. My God, those people were amazing. They really got into the spirit of it.
Wow.
And, so Redford's time with you was a genuine example and expression of appreciation for everything that, Rochester at the Natural provided.
Pete, let me ask you this. How many, when they took the wide shots of the people in the stands, how many of those were cardboard cutouts?
Well, it's hard to imagine. We would move. It's funny because the Natural is very similar to Slapshot. I was an assistant director on Slapshot. On the Natural, I was a production manager. But on Slapshot, I would say, okay, now everybody in section 5, move over to section 3. And then everything. But the cardboard cutouts would only be used in one spot because they were to move those. Maybe you could do it over lunch, but they were there. I don't remember, but obviously they wouldn't be used in a way that somebody would notice. Right? Yeah, right. That's the cameraman's job.
We keep talking about the special, and I'm not even sure how you post a podcast. So once we get done with this, wherever it becomes available, I will also include a link to that entire show that people can look at. I'm just curious, Pete. In addition to this, as production manager, I know we talked a little bit in that special about some of the other duties that fell to you, such as catering and transportation. I mean, a lot of work behind the scenes from your point of view.
Wow.
Well, I'm not the producer that raises the money or puts the package together. I'm the producer or production manager, or both at times, who comes on the picture once the money's in place and they're ready to go. So I work with the director to find the crew, specifically the most important director of photography, costume designer, editor, art director, etc. But then it's about finding locations where we're going to shoot the picture. Is it cheaper to build it? Is it cheaper to shoot it on a practical location? Mm-hmm. And then now with the incentive programs, which state is the best place to shoot it in? And it's just everything. And then working with the assistant directors to come up with the shooting schedule of, when we're going to shoot what and where. So it's all of that. And then also the studio chomping at the bit for us to tell them how much it's going to cost. So, yeah, it's all of that.
Mary, what bus were you in? Do you recall you and Don were in the same bus,
I don't
right?
think so. Were
Yeah,
we?
I must have been on the same bus.
What?
Why not? Why wouldn't I be on the same bus?
I didn't see anything.
Right.
Why wouldn't I interview you? I don't know.
Well, I was trying to remember what I wore,
Well,
but I couldn't remember.
Of course. Well, you had to wear
Of
something.
course, but
You had to dress for the 1930s, right?
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
if I
that
did.
was such a good movie. Do you guys have, each one of you answer this? Do you all have a favorite Robert Redford movie? I do. I want to hear yours.
Well, I think,
Probably the way
this
we
one, would have to be for me The Natural because we were so close.
The Natural?
To it. Yeah.
Okay. You too, Mary?
I probably what was it? The Way We Were, the one you mentioned with Barbara Streisand.
Yes. That's nice.
Yeah, just because. Yeah,
it's funny.
and Barefoot, or no, in the park.
Barefoot in the Park with Jane Fonda.
Yeah,
that was
that
his
one.
first. Yeah.
My favorite. Okay, go ahead,
sorry.
Pete.
No, go. You're sorry.
My favorite, Jeremiah Johnson.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I love that movie. I absolutely love it. Whenever it comes on, I rewatch it.
I thought you could say
Jeremiah
was your next door neighbor. I didn't know who that was.
Jeremiah Jones, him and Tyrone.
Jeremiah Johnson is one of Redford's favorites.
Oh my God! You see
Barefoot in the Park, obviously, is what launched his career.
Yep.
An interesting sidelight about The Way We Were. I worked with Sidney Pollack once in New York, helping him with a screen test. Can't remember what the movie was. We were in a limo, and he was telling me how Barbara Streisand had one side of her face that she favored, but Robert Redford, who had those pockmarks on his cheek, had another side that he favored, but he couldn't ever get them in a two-shot because one of them had to compromise. Oh, anyway.
Wanda and I stood like that. Remember, Wanda? Whenever we stood side by side, we always had one of us on one side.
Pete. Pete, that's not true.
No, it was me. It was me. I said I have the left side.
What was the compromise?
Right. I never noticed there was an issue on either side of his face. He was a gorgeous man you married, Mary Alhart.
Oh, no. What about...
No, the other compromise.
Yeah, the other compromise. Did Pete say?
I interrupted. You were in the middle of
when he
compromise.
was with Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, well, he couldn't shoot them in a two-shot because it would have to show one of their bad sides of their face because it wasn't the alternate side, wasn't the right way to do it. And so it just a remark on how they had to deal with their own little insecurities. But in terms of Redford's favorite movies, one of the things I feel thing I admire him the most about is his choice of movies and his directorial skill. I mean, his movies, whether he was in All the President's Men or The Graduate or Horse Whisperer or River Runs Through It or, any of these movies, and including all the ones you mentioned, the other one about the reporters, New York Times, what was it?
All the President's Men?
All the President's
Men. No, not All the President's Men. I was thinking of the other one where he's working in a research area and all the people are assassinated.
Anyway. I know that one.
But yeah. Anyway, so many of his movies spoke to somebody who maybe not have a voice or just had something to say about the human condition. Very immaculate choice of movies that he made.
Yeah, I saw a report on ABC where he said that he was very fortunate because he pretty much could choose the movies he wanted to be a part of. So that was important to him. And then I was reading this morning where he was just in love with the West and, that whole cowboy and outlaw and the whole wide cowboy range. I was reading about that this morning because he lived in Utah at the time of his death, right?
Well, he that's why that's why Jeremiah Johnson is his favorite movie.
Yes.
And then he moved to Utah. His wife was a Mormon. His first wife was a Mormon. And he bought a ski area there, and that became Sundance before there was a Sundance Institute. So he owned the Sundance ski area. And so he was very much, I think, attached to the West, and that what led to his attachment to the environment, which he was very passionate about protecting.
Now, did you ever get a chance to ski with him?
No, I never did. But when I was at Sundance waiting for him, I had that fantasy, of course, that I told you about. But, he eventually at dinner, and we got to talk at least about Downhill Racer and our mutual love of skiing.
Oh, good.
Oh, that was good.
Well, this has been great. I want to bring us to that last moment because I think it was not planned. Wanda and I were there. We were helping the crew put things away, but we had brought everything on. The whole crew, everybody came on the buses, and all of a sudden, we realized there was no bus left
for us.
And it was we had to wait, as I recall, because the Teamsters couldn't do it. They had on the clock. They couldn't work till midnight or something.
Right.
So we we got driven home, didn't we?
At least you were chivalrous enough to get Mary on a bus, because I don't think she was left behind, was she?
I don't know.
No, I was left behind with you guys. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yes, she was.
I don't know what bus she arrived on, but I know we.
I must have been
the
on
bus
the same
she came back on.
bus.
Left together, right? Exactly.
Wanda, isn't that classic Alhart, the way he plays that? Oh, here comes my. Oh no. That's,
You notice that, Pete? Yeah, you notice that? Yeah. Well, you know what? This has been fun, and I have to be honest and tell you all that it gave me just a little bit of cringe when I know that Redford was gone, because he just meant so much to me, to cinema, and when there were real actors, and he was so, you believed the part that he played. You believed he was so entrenched in making that particular character come to life, and he was so good at it. And he had this quiet individuality that you just had to respect.
Yep.
Yeah. And he and Paul Newman were the last of the big superstars.
Yeah.
And we forgot Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Sundance Kid. You're right, Mary. Yeah. That was good.
He was only in his 30s when he did that movie. It's really crazy.
God, that scene where Paul Newman says, "Jump."
Yeah.
He said, "I can't swim." I love it. I love it. Wow.
They had a great relationship, and I think they used to do pranks on each other. Paul, I think Robert Redford sent Paul Newman a Porsche as a gift, but he had it crushed into a square and delivered.
I think we did that we did that with the last news car that Wanda had. I think. I still have that on my desk. The old news car with Wanda. I just miss your laugh, Wanda. This is so great just to hear you laugh.
I love hearing it.
Thank you. That laugh, huh?
Well, we love you. So.
We love you. I love you.
Well, this has been fun.
I love you all.
Yeah,
it's been great.
I could, I shouldn't do that. I could probably queue up here one of our shows. You want to hear Pete Burrell and I when we were in the 5th grade?
I would love that.
Let me see if I can.
While you're doing that,
see if you can cue it up.
And now here's Pete Burrell to introduce the star of today's show and announcer and owner of WRGB.
I think my voice changed.
Pete Burrell. Thank you very much, Mr. Bill Colen, for that fine introduction to me there. We want to welcome all of you friends out there in Radio Land.
Bill Colen, of course, he was on The Price is Right.
Why did you two sound like you had been inhaling some kind of fumes or balloon?
We were in the 5th grade. We had the radio station set up then.
And as you all know, duplicate that DJ affectation,
Yeah. So we've been doing that. We're going back This is Back to the Future. We're going back today to what Pete and I
Wow.
did right after our fifth grade teacher built that radio station. But that's a podcast for another time. We want to bring this one to a conclusion. I can't believe we've gone a half hour, but it's been a thrilling time. And any last words? I'll let each of you share anything before we wrap this up.
You know, the stars are dimming in the sky for all of our cinematic friends. And, you know, I'm just glad that we have it on tape or celluloid or somewhere so that people in the future can see what Robert Redford gave. Charles Robert Redford gave to us.
Yeah. Yep. Well, may he rest in peace.
That's it. Absolutely. I think what comes to mind is how fortunate you and I have been, Don and Wanda and Mary, because she spent a lot of time on the station as well, to be involved in an occupation where we're celebrating life and people and the curiosity of the human experience and all of that. Very exciting and very personal, very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And one last thought, the movie I couldn't remember was 3 Days of a Condor.
Oh,
okay.
that's right.
Okay, was that with Sidney Poitier? Was that with Sidney Poitier?
No, it was Redford,
No.
and I think it was Sidney Pollock, I think, directed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been great.
Yeah.
Mary, your turn. Last words, Mary.
No, I've got nothing. The only thing I remember, one quick thing was Pete pointed out when we were at the event, and he pointed to some young woman, and he said, that's going to be the next big star, Glenn Close.
Ah.
So
you're kidding.
So that's all
Did
I remember.
He really?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in the movie.
Wow, that was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was warming up then, just as we have been warming up the audiences for years here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a great time. All right.
Thank you, Don.
All right. Love you guys.
Well,
love
thank you
Mary.
all.
Bye.
That's our podcast, our first podcast, and perhaps not the last. We will certainly find out as time goes on. Thanks for sharing this with us today. Have a great day.